American attitude. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll be done. Just say America. Tell them about what's going on at the White House, please. It's very important. This gentleman's one day going to be a congressman, too. Come on, Steve. The Department of Deep Thought.
All right. Jay's coming up? Okay. Hey, good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out. And what you're going to hear tonight is validation that we have a lot of so-called representatives that are selected rather than being elected by we the people, right? So I had an exchange recently with my congressman, Joe's congressman from the 1st Congressional District, Nick LaLota. And I've had numerous exchanges with Nick. The positive thing is that he gives me a voice as a member of representative of the America First Warehouse. But the reality is he's beholden to the GOP party leadership, not to me or us as his constituents. And by the way, Nick was the catalyst for removing George Santos. And I said to him, I said, so the one time you take a principled stand is removing Santos, right? But you can't take a principled stand on all these other issues that are destroying our country. So we appreciate you coming out. If you're not familiar with our website, please do visit www.theamericafirstwarehouse.com. And of course, we are on all the various social media platforms. Teresa's doing a great job with the social media. If you go to the events page, you have to put in www. You go to the events page, yeah, because if you don't put in www with the shadow banning, you're not going to find us easily, if you find us at all. Go to the events page on the warehouse, scroll down, you can see all the upcoming events. So in addition to what we have here, we've got next Tuesday, we have the America First Lecture Series, our own Nick Giordano. How many people in here have heard of Professor Nick Giordano from Suffolk Community College? Nick is a real patriot. He's part of our podcast team here as well, along with Mr. Tom Weirman and David Zier and Steve Levy and Teresa. So we've got Nick Giordano is going to be speaking with David Zier next Tuesday, May 7th, regarding the college campuses that are under siege, right, with the nonsense going on across the country. So very pertinent, very timely. And then we have, Teresa, we've got on May 11th, we've got the Trump rally coming up, Saturday, May 11th. And then we have General Flynn coming on Mother's Day. Mother's Day, we've got your choice. You can commit yourself to the afternoon, the evening, or both if you would like. So General Flynn, great patriot. We've been interacting with him and his team. We know they are so looking forward to coming to the America First Warehouse. And as Teresa said, after General Flynn on May 12th, we have Vicky Palladino, New York City Councilwoman, who's coming here on May 14th. May 14th, and that's again going to be with David Zier, America First Lecture Series. Right? So, Teresa, what am I missing after Vicky Palladino? Oh, I missed Cabrini, Friday, May 3rd. Cabrini, the movie Cabrini movie night at the America First Warehouse.
The patron saint of parking. Yes, Mr. Cabrini, find me a parking spot.
Yes, and those of you that don't know about the America First Motor Club, check it out on the website. Don't ask Joe about it because he will chew your ear off for a lot longer than you want. So the America First Motor Club, car services every Sunday morning. Yes, 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Okay, thanks for reminding me about Cabrini. We got a lot more really exciting things that are going to be coming up in the summertime. There's going to be boot camp for boomers. That's further out in September with AMAC. And for those of you that don't, how many people here have heard of AMAC? Okay. So that's the conservative pro-America alternative to AARP. Please support our friends. They're great partners at AMAC. You don't have to be a senior. Right, because Teresa would not be eligible. I would be eligible anyhow. But their website is amac.us. So please visit them, join up. They're really trying to recruit members in a big way. And they're also partnered with Real America's Voice as we are. And hopefully, I'm going to put this out there, on Thursday, May 16th, we're going to be doing the next production of All Fired Up. I'm fired up, you're fired up, we're fired up. Okay, All Fired Up. On Real America's Voice Rumble channel alone, 140,000 views, okay, which is amazing. So, All Fired Up, Thursday, May 16th. It will air on Friday, May 17th, hosted by the great Andrew Giuliani. How many folks here saw that show, the original show? Right? Melissa, it was very good, right? It's only going to get better. All right, with that, Jay, you are up. Thank you, folks.
Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for coming. We really do appreciate this. This is extremely important to us right now, what's going on with the GOP, with Cox, with Cairo, what they're doing to our poor patriot primary people, candidates. So Wendy and I, Teresa, the America First Warehouse, decided to put something together here to help out all the candidates, let the average person know what really goes on when you go out to get signatures as a candidate, what they have to endure, the pressure, what the GOP puts you through, and you're pretty much almost guaranteed not to make it to the ballot because of what they do. So we incorporate this. We're bringing all the people out here to tell their side of the story where everybody sees it, and hopefully we can make a difference and put a stop to this. What I'd also like to do is, if everyone takes out their phones and goes live with this, I'd really appreciate it. Every single person, the more people that sees this live on Facebook, Rumble, wherever you're gonna be, please do. This will help our cause a lot to get it out there, and we wanna make sure Cox and Cairo see this. So, and Garcia, yes. And Wendy, you have anything to say?
No, thank you all for coming.
All right, let me introduce Teresa over here, who's gonna MC for the rest of the night for us, because I'm not one for words.
I'm very quiet, Hi, everybody. How are you? Thank you for coming. So we are here to shed some light, like Jay said, on the campaigns. I was a campaign manager in 2022, and we faced this, and that's it's by design. They literally come after you. They try to drain your funds. They try to get you off the ballot, keep you in court, and it's just part of the plan that they do to get the other candidates off. And it's really unfair. Some of it's very unconstitutional. And we're hoping tonight you can get a better account from all the candidates that are here and they can explain their story. So the objective tonight, as we put out, was to bring awareness to the public regarding the unfair and unjust treatment of the America First candidates who are not the GOP's pick. And just so, in case some of you don't know, that's really what it comes down to. So I'll give you an example. In my district in CD3, the GOP picked Mike LaPetri, so they put all their money and resources behind him, and all the other candidates now are being sued and being kept in court and being tried to get knocked off the ballot. It worked today because out of the 5 candidates that were running, 1 dropped out today because of that reason, and that's exactly what the GOP wants. So to the candidates who are not dropping out because of this, I'm proud of you. Keep up the fight, and we're behind you, and this is something that we need to bring to the public, and I'm hoping next year we can start running committee men and we can change this, so stay tuned for that. First up, many of you may know, we're bringing up Cara Castronova. She's running for U.S. Senate in New York against Kristen Gillibrand. And Cara has a big story here and a lawsuit she's probably going to fill you in on, and there were developments today. So please give Cara a big round of applause. This is her second run. She's brave enough to do it again, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
So as Teresa said, I'm Kara Castanova. I know a lot of you here today. Many of you gathered petitions for me to get on the ballot for U.S. Senate, where I am a candidate for U.S. Senate going against Kirsten Gillibrand. There's a three-way primary, but today the Board of Elections decided to throw me off the ballot, along with the other person named Josh Eisen, who was running as well and gathering petitions. Across the board, there's a gentleman here today named Greg Hosh. He's one of the 4 candidates that the Board of Elections also threw off the ballot. A lot of people don't really understand what's going on with this, which is like a lot of people say, how do we get these terrible candidates in office that are rhinos across Long Island, across the tri-state area, really across America, but I could really only speak for where I live, and I know that none of the politicians that are in place right now, none of the Republicans or the Democrats, but I'm going to speak about Republicans because that's what I am, represent me or represent what I stand for. And how did these people get into office? So really the answer is it's the establishment leaders of the Republican Party, sadly. It's really not the politicians. I feel bad for a lot of the politicians in the Republican Party because they're basically controlled. Once they get the endorsement, once they get the Republicans behind them, they no longer have a voice and they can no longer fight for you or me. So the real issue that I'm realizing with New York State is New York is in really dire straits right now. Obviously, everybody knows that. People that live around the country, for any of you who don't know me, I also write for Gateway Pundit, and a lot of the comments I see when I write articles about New York, people will say, oh, well, you live in New York, it's your own fault you elect these people, you know, it's your own fault. And everybody realizes New York is in a bad way. And the reason is because of the ridiculous laws that we have here in New York State, which are unlike any other state in the United States. The only one that's second is Illinois, and then California. So coincidentally, the most liberal states have the most draconian ballot access laws, which as a consequence of that, elects really, really bad politicians that don't represent the people. So the way it works is the party nominates somebody, and in my case, that was a gentleman named Mike Sapercorn, who I call Mike Sapercorn. He's a terrible candidate. They nominated him, and he didn't have to get a single petition. So everybody in here knows like how difficult it is to get petitions, to walk around from person to person. The average person gets 5 signatures in 1 hour. I was required to get 15,000 petitions in pretty much 1 month's time, and everybody said you got to get closer to 30,000 because they're going to knock signatures off for really arbitrary reasons, which they did. So I got close to 16,000. I literally almost died. I'm not even kidding. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't shower. Like I was driving on no sleep to Albany, to everywhere around the state because I was required to collect these signatures, not just from this area, but from around the entire New York State, all the way up to Buffalo, Syracuse, Ithaca, everywhere in 30 days. This is like an effort that is tremendous. And I did this with the help of a lot of people. Like I'm going to, again, thank people in this room that helped me out. And people from around the state that literally didn't even know, I don't know personally, but for some reason wanted to help me because I'm a grassroots candidate. I didn't pay a single person, which is very rare. Every other person that runs for state office pays signature collectors between $25 to $50 an hour. I didn't pay a single signature collector, and I still was able to make the requirement of the 15,000 because people were sending them to my house in the mail in stacks. People from all around the state, I'm still getting petitions sent to my house because people still don't realize it's over. I published one article in the Gateway Pundit asking people to send me their petitions, and it worked. People believe in me because I fight for medical freedom, I fight for America First, I fight for January 6th. They've seen me on Newsmax, they've seen me and my writing on the Gateway Pundit. They know what I am, and they know what I stand for. And I'm not the type of person that could get on a stage as a politician and just say things and and change them a month later to cater to the crowd because they already know who I am, because they know what I stand for, like I said. So I had a lot of grassroots help. And what is so disgusting to me at what happened today when I got thrown off the ballot is that basically the party is saying, we don't care about those 15,000 people. It's like literally spitting in their face, spitting in the face of the blood, sweat, and tears of people in this room, like Joe the Box, like Teresa, like people that gathered petitions for me, and saying that these people don't count. So they scratch off their, it's called the petition gathering scheme. And I know I'm going to get into the weeds with this, and I'm going to try to simplify it as much as possible because I have a federal lawsuit right now in the 3rd District of New York where I think we have a really good chance of winning. And this lawsuit is so important. I really wish more people were paying attention to it because it could literally change New York as we know it. Imagine if, there's a Senate race next time when it comes around when Chuck Schumer is running, and you have 10 really great candidates that are not kissing the ring and that are not billionaires that paid signature workers. Someone like Joe the Box, someone like Teresa could run, I could run, and let the people decide. That will never happen the way that the laws exist right now in New York, which favors the rhinos and the Democrats, which is basically the uniparty. And at the same time, imagine you could have 5 candidates running as Democrats against Chuck Schumer. They have the same laws and the same rules, or against Kirsten Gillibrand, that could actually represent the people that, that could possibly be maybe if it exists, a normal Democrat could actually run that would be able to challenge these people in a primary. Again, the parties are in lockstep with making it literally impossible for any challenger. So they make you feel like, they make you feel like you have a chance. You get 15,000 signatures in 30 days, which is basically essentially, or 35 days they say, which is pretty much 400 signatures a day, or better yet, get 30,000 because probably half of your signatures will get knocked off for arbitrary reasons. So that's 800 signatures a day. This was deemed in the 3rd District in the Eastern District of New York to be unconstitutional. In the year 2000, John McCain tried to get on the ballot against George Bush to get the delegates from New York, and so did Steve Forbes, who was a billionaire. And both of them weren't able to get on the ballot because they were not the establishment choice. So if you could only imagine someone like me who's a grassroots candidate, or somebody like the CD3 guys who are just regular guys trying to get on the ballot when John McCain could not get on the ballot, when Steve Forbes could not get on the ballot, because in the Eastern District of New York, it was deemed unconstitutional. That this petition gathering scheme is an undue burden, is what they called it, and that there's many traps that are set on the petitions that will make people fill in information incorrectly. That makes it unconstitutional. For example, could somebody raise their hand? What town do you live in? Okay, if so, that's wrong. You don't live in Lynbrook according to the petition gathering scheme. You live in town of Hempstead, right? Exactly. So when you're passing out your petitions and you're asking people to write their towns and they write Lynbrook, that automatically invalidates your signature. So they set trap after trap. And that's just one of the many traps that they set, which is why they're like, you got to get 30,000, 45,000. Like, it's so easy to just get 30 or 45,000 signatures in a month, because they know that there's all of these traps that they'll be able to scratch off and invalidate your signatures and basically disenfranchise the voters. Like, I have a page. One of the things that they do is they try to throw off a witness sheet. Raise your hand if you've ever seen a petition. Okay, great. So at the bottom when it's like where the witness signs, if they could find any little error on that witness statement, they could throw out the whole petition. My friend Tina put a T over her T because the pen wrote really light. They threw out the whole entire page because of that. They said it was tampered with. Somebody, when they wrote the date, they made the line too close to the 2. They threw out that page and said there was some fault with it. They would literally throw out page after page, and it's up to you, which I'm doing, to go to court and fight for your signatures. So now they threw me off the ballot today at the Board of Elections, but tomorrow I'm filing a lawsuit called a petition to validate. You have 3 days to file it. You have to find the people and serve them who are all hiding out but right now, including Chairman Nunziato from Queens, who I heard was in Tennessee. Allegedly, I don't know if that's true, because they don't want to be served. So you have to file this validating petition, then you have to appear before a judge and literally go blow for blow, like tooth for tooth, fighting for each and every signature to be validated. Because like I said, the Republican establishment leadership doesn't give a crap about your voice. They don't give a crap about ballot access. They don't think that the people are smart enough to make a choice when it comes to who their candidate should be, and they want to be able to control that candidate at all costs. They are so spiteful that they would actually rather a Democrat win than a Republican that they can't control. That is exactly what the problem is. That is why we have all of these candidates that are such rhinos. That is why we have candidates that, or politicians rather, that don't agree with anything that we stand for. They'll never be, if the person who right now the party is backing, actually by the grace of God, which he won't, because honestly, the only candidate I truly believe that could beat Kirsten Gillibrand of the 3 running is me. I feel like a female needs to beat her, somebody that could debate her on abortion without looking like a bully. There's so many reasons why I think, and I know that I'm the better candidate. I just think I translate better, and if there was another candidate that was better, I probably would be supporting that person instead of doing what I'm doing now, which is basically not sleeping, eating, or showering. So I know I'm the best person that could beat her. The guy that's running against her, like I said, I lost my train of thought, guys, sorry. I went off on a tangent. But the guy that's running against her will always owe his nomination to the party. If in the 1% chance that he has of winning, he knows who got them there. It was 3 men in a back room, and that's who his allegiance will be to forever. When he votes, when he has talking points, when he writes bills, his allegiance will always be to the party, which consists of a couple of people. It will never be to the people in this room. It will never be to the people in the state of New York. It will never be to anybody except a couple people who put them there. And that's the God's honest truth and what I've discovered as a journalist. For a lot of you who don't know either, I was at Newsmax up until I announced my candidacy, and I also write for the Gateway Pundit, and I expose the government all the time. And this is just another, I think, journey for me in exposing why the hell we have these rhinos in office and why New York State is allegedly blue. It's because they won't run any good red candidates. So I'm trying to bring as much attention to this as I can and explaining it in ways that really resonates with people. But I guess the way to explain it is the party wants to control the nominees. For years and years and years, they've been pulling this this petition gathering scheme where they require people to gather all of these signatures, knowing the whole time that they're going to sue them in court as soon as their signatures are turned in, that the Board of Elections that they're in collusion with will side with them, of course, and that the courts will side with them, and that they could pick off every single candidate that's not the establishment pick. And that goes for both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. So you get a rhino in there, then you get an evil Democrat in there. They go to bat, and it's like the lesser of 2 evils at that point here in the state of New York. And that's like literally from kind of the local level all the way up to the top. And the Senate is so important because, you know, there's 100 senators in the United States. They literally decide treaties, like foreign affairs. Like there's so many important things that they do. These people have to be controlled at all costs, according to the parties. They have to have controlled candidates in there, in my opinion, that have average or below IQs that literally will take orders. And don't really have a moral compass. They don't really stand for anything. They want to be a team player, which team player means that you could be persuaded to go against your own moral compass to be a team player. I don't believe in that. I believe that you should be making up your own mind and your own decisions. So, thank you. So, yeah, I'm sorry if I'm not explaining this as effectively as I would like to. I'm fighting multiple battles in court. Now I know how Donald Trump feels when I could have been campaigning for the past months, but I'm literally writing motions, compiling evidence, gathering signatures, defending signatures. I've driven to Albany 3 times in the past 10 days and back because I don't want to stay in Albany. 4 hours there, 4 hours back to appear in court because I'm summoned to court to defend myself against, my opponent, the Republican pick who's suing me in court to get me knocked off the ballot. So I'm literally being sued by him who didn't even have to get 1 signature, which is another thing I want to again point out why this is so unconstitutional, why I think my federal court case will win. My opponent only had to get 1 signature, and that was Ed Cox, the chairman of the state, who had made massive donations to his committee. So, you do the math. He didn't have to get a single signature. The Republican Party exempted themselves from their own rule, which is I have to get 15,000 signatures. Josh Eisen had to get 15,000 signatures, but Mike Sapricone didn't have to get a single signature because they know, number one, it's nearly impossible. They will exhaust all of their volunteers, and nobody will want, when you exhaust your volunteers and they're tired, and then you have to ask them to come around during your campaign and pass out literature and show up at events, like you've exhausted them collecting petitions, and they know that. You exhaust your funds. You're unable to gather endorsements. You're unable to fundraise because you're completely and utterly wrapped up with gathering petitions. And this is, like I said, it's gone on for decades and it needs to be exposed. Now imagine like the judge grants me in 1 month ballot access. The federal judge is like, all right, you win. This is unconstitutional. You're on the ballot. This guy had a 6-month advantage over me in campaigning. I'm in court fighting. Nobody knows that I'm running. I'm not getting endorsements from the police. I'm not getting endorsements from the unions. I'm not getting endorsements from politicians. Well, he is. Well, he's fundraising. So it's an unfair head start. So the people that have actually got on the ballot in the past through this, when they actually get on the ballot, the election is in like 3 weeks. And they generally lose. So the party knows this. So they will stretch this out as far as they can until you know, if you are granted ballot access, you probably won't, not me, I'm gonna win anyway, but most people don't win anyway because they didn't have a chance to campaign or fundraise. So it's a completely rigged system, and I'm ashamed to say that the Republicans are part of it. I always believe that this is, you know, the party of the people, and I don't think that the establishment elitists and the people at the top are representing the party of the people, which has become the Republican Party. I truly believe that, and the system needs to be turned upside down. My goal is in federal court to hopefully get some of these laws loosened so that when the next big race comes around, congressional races, governor races, Senate races, we could get people in this room running for office and let the people decide. So I'm really trying to help get those laws loosened. It's become like a hill I want to die on because I think that I think New York State really depends on it. So that will be probably decided in 2 weeks. And right now, I'm just trying to bring attention to that. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, yeah, I'll try to update as much as possible. Every day is like moving and different, and we get motions. We're going up against Letitia James' attorney. I'm pro se. Was anybody here? I'm going to invite everybody here to come. I don't think Joe the Box came that day, even though he was supposed to. But on my Joe the Box. On my next case, if you could come, we represented ourselves, but now we're going to get an attorney to join, and he's going to represent the campaign, so I could still sit there and represent Kara Kashinova, and I could sit at the bench with the attorneys. I felt so cool. And John Tobacco, he represented himself as well because he's my co-defendant. I'm sorry, see, I'm defendant. We're always on the defense. Actually, we're plaintiffs on this one. He's my co-plaintiff as one of my supporters. So he's saying you're hurting my constitutional rights to want to vote for the person I want to vote for because of this petition gathering scheme and this legal lawfare that the Republican Party is doing to this candidate. So he's suing as a supporter. I'm suing as a candidate, and we had a lot of people there, and the judge didn't know what was going on. It was kind of interesting because it was a Biden-appointed judge, and he was like kind of sitting there like, and then all of a sudden all these like people started coming in with like wearing American flags, and a lot of them were like Asian and African American. He's like, what the heck? Like he was so confused as to what was going on because generally I think this guy doesn't think that Republicans look like that, but a lot of my supporters do. And they packed out the whole entire gallery that they had to let everybody sit on the jury benches. So it was like, I was like, wow, this is a real jury of my peers, because it's like all my friends. And everybody said it was like watching like Judge Judy, but better, because it was really interesting to like actually watch us like make our arguments. And I don't think that, in Letitia James' office, like I said, she represents the Board of Elections. And then Ed Cox's attorney was there representing the Republican Party. So they were like two peas in a pod. Like they literally looked like the Bobbsey twins in like these black deep state suits. And they came in thinking, these pro se people will get them. We're going to get this dismissed today, and the judge let it go on. He actually thinks that there's merit to the case, and so that the case will go on. So Tuesday we have a really big. Thank you. We have a big document due. We're amending our complaint to add all the stuff, the crazy stuff that's gone on in the past 2 weeks. So we're going to be, amending the complaint, submitting more evidence, and asking for an emergency evidentiary hearing. And I'm inviting everybody, please, in the room to come, because it really is interesting watching the way the court system works, and also to show the judge that people actually care about this stuff, that people actually care about, voter choice, election integrity, and ballot access. So I think it's really important to share this with your family, friends, and have people there at the courtroom when we argue our case. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know. No, I'm not giving up, but I'm going home right now. Like my living room looks like a campsite. Like literally I have papers everywhere. And we're literally combing through them one by, I'm not kidding when I say, they make this process so onerous and so impossible. For, they want people to just be like, Uncle, mercy, I'm done, I can't do it anymore. There are days when I wake up when I'm just like, I can't believe I used to complain about my life 3 months ago. This is insane. I'm a slave now. Really, I am. It's this is why I said I can only imagine how Trump feels. When you have court cases every day, motions due every day, when you're trying to fundraise for attorneys every day and they're freaking expensive, you're a slave to the legal system and you can't think about anything else. So really, I stay up till, for the past 2 months, it's been like one long day. I've been combing through petitions, defending to petitions, doing everything we need to do to defend those at the Board of Elections hearing, which is basically like a tribunal. They call themselves a sovereign, I'm not gonna say a sovereign nation, but they're sovereign from all the constitutional laws. This is literally what they told me. And you go in there, and we thought we were gonna have a fair hearing, but they wouldn't even let us speak. They're like, you're off the ballot. And we brought like a stack of papers this big, literally, in boxes to defend our petitions, and they didn't even let us defend the petitions. So now, like I said, the next step is state court. So now we have to, but there's two state, I'm suing now in state court. I'm filing a petition to validate, and Mike Sapricone is suing me in state court. And I also wanted to, a big part of this I forgot to talk about was Tony Nunziato, the chairman from Queens, and a Board of Elections worker from Queens are my only two objectors in the whole of New York State. Like, the objections are supposed to be made by people of the public. It's literally someone from the Republican Party and his little, fellow goon who works at the Board of Elections, with his friend Ed Haggerty. I mean, John Haggerty, you guys don't know this gossip, it's more towards Queens, but these are kind of like goons that run the party. The two objections came in the same envelope from the same guy, John Haggerty, who literally went to jail for stealing $750,000 from Mayor Bloomberg's campaign and committing basically fraud. So this is the person that sent in my objections and literally used the Queen's chairman. I don't want to, I'm not going to speak on certain elements of the case because their lawyer is threatening me to sue me for libel and slander, even though what I'm saying is factual and all in my case docket. But their corrupt lawyer who's trying to obstruct justice has actually threatened that the party's going to sue me for actually speaking the truth and presenting facts, which I'm not afraid of, but I'm just being a little bit careful. But all of this stuff is on the court docket. There's a lot of juicy stuff in there about the fraud that they have committed. I can tell you that much. So hopefully it'll all be exposed, and hopefully, like I said, the most important thing is to get these laws loosened and changed so that real populist, America First candidates, like people in this room, like the Founding Fathers wanted you to be able to run for office, you to be able to run for office, okay? You to be able to run for office without having to kiss the ring. That's the only, or have gazillions of dollars that you could somehow buy your way to the top. And still, even those people can't get to the top if they don't kiss the ring. One person gets the nomination out of 20 million people in New York State. That is not normal. And you could even say, all right, there's one person out of 3 million, I think, Republicans. That is absolutely unconstitutional. And then they use the legal system and their compadres, the judges, and everybody else in the judiciary to keep people like us off the ballot. And they've been doing this for literally decades. And the Founding Fathers would be rolling over in their graves. The way they envisioned it, from what I understand, is people run for office, they serve a few terms, regular people, and then they go back home and go to their regular jobs, whether it be as a construction worker, whether it be as an accountant, a lawyer, whatever it is. Like, there's nobody that stays in office for a lifetime like freaking Chuck Schumer or something like that, or Nancy Pelosi. That's not the way it was envisioned. And because of the way that they've drawn up the laws through the state legislatures has made it possible for these people to stay in office forever. The reason Nancy Pelosi can't get out of office is because nobody can primary her on her own side. The reason Chuck Schumer can't stay out of office is get kicked out of office is because no decent Democrat could get him out. So it goes the same way for both Mitch McConnell, same thing. This is like a scam that they've been using to make us feel like we live in a democracy, like we live in a republic, a constitutional republic, where the people actually run the government and where the people actually have a choice, when it is the absolute opposite of truth. The opposite of truth. And coincidentally, the last thing I'm going to say is the three most liberal states, and I might have said this, New York, California, and Illinois, are the ones with the most draconian ballot access laws. In the state of Texas, you pay $50, a couple $100, and you get ballot access, and you let the people decide. But in the very liberal states, it's very, very draconian, and it happens to be these very liberal states that have the worst politicians, that are rhinos, that make the worst laws, the most crime-ridden states, the states that have no medical freedom, the states that abolish the Second Amendment, are all the states that have the worst ballot access laws, because they're putting out the worst politicians that are completely controlled, like little, I call them like a cat on a leash, by their masters in the establishment. And unfortunately, the Republican Party is very, very much to blame, and I'm sad to say that. So. Well, here in New York, so, like I guess the states, like this, the parties sort of. I'm not going to say they stand alone. They're all under the umbrella of the RNC. But at the head of the state is Ed Cox, who is he's a questionable character. An article came out on him on the Gateway Pundit. You could read it for yourself. It's very sad. There is a such thing as the Uniparty. You could have someone like Ed Cox, who's part of an organization called the League of Conservation Voters. I misread it at first. I thought it said conservative voters, and I was like, wait a second. Conservation voters, and then I saw a little emblem for wind turbines, which I don't know if people in this room know, I really hate wind turbines, offshore wind turbines. I jog on Long Beach, and they were trying to put those, and they still are, these horrific wind turbines up on Long Beach, and this is all the progressive agenda. So how do you sit on the board of the League of Conservation Voters that donates to Kirsten Gillibrand, Letitia James, Tom Suozzi, but then you nominate Mazi Philippe and you nominate Mike Zapracone? Does that make any sense? How does that make sense? Like, it's called a double agent. I'm sorry, that's what it's called. You're nominating tomato can losers. Okay, and I'm not saying specific people, the names I mentioned, because I actually did. Like, there's some people in the Republican Party that I actually like, and I don't think it's their fault, the actual politicians. It's actually the leaders that use them. They literally use them, but they literally nominate losing candidates that they know could lose as part of a non-aggression pact with the Democrat Party, and then they're donating massive amounts of money to the Democrats through these super PACs. Like this super PAC that I mentioned, or this conservation voters, literally donated all of the money to Suozzi's walking team in Queens that won him the race, the CD3 race. The Queens won him that race, and they donated all the resources and the money to have these walk teams like go through Queens and get him into office. Yet they nominated Mazi. Yet he nominated Mazi. So I don't get it. It makes no sense, and it's just stuff that I'm discovering as I go along. And I think that you guys should be aware of too. That our state leadership is compromised, and we need new state leadership. And it's not the Republican Party. The people of the party are great people. A lot of the politicians are actually good people too. They just really have no choice because they literally have a choker collar on them at all times. And I wish I could relieve them of that choker and actually let them be the good people that they are, but they have no choice because they're beholden to the people who put them in power, and that is the problem. So, anyone else? I've been on War Room a few times, yeah. Oh, more than a few, but about this topic, no. Like I said, I've been consumed with going through petitions, writing. So like I have no choice. Like I could be writing more about this for Gateway Pundit. Like all I have to do is type and press send. But I've been so consumed by these legal battles that it's all I think about. Like all I'm thinking about is my next motion that I'm writing for Tuesday and how I can make it be like and knock it out of the ballpark, or how I could fundraise more to get a better lawyer, to a constitutional attorney to advise me, because I have a really great lawyer advising me, but there's always like room for more. I mean, like I could, like I said, that it's like such a full. We could sit and talk for like hours and hours and hours trying to come up with the answer to that question. And I'm scratched, like running for office as an investigative journalist is like kind of like just starting to scratch like through the sand. And as a journalist, like the more I scratch, the more I dig up, and I just keep turning and turning things over. So maybe I'll get to that answer one day. All I could speak to is really New York, what I've experienced, because I'm experiencing it firsthand. And New York certainly has a uniparty. They work in tandem with each other. I compare it to the WWE, where they have the two wrestlers that are like throwing beer bottles at each other and body slamming each other, but then in the back they're best friends and they go and they hang out and they go to the bar and have a drink. That's the Democrat and Republican Party here in New York. This one's like, they go on the news, they hurl they hurl insults at each other, they fight with each other, but they're really just one and the same. And they're using the, politicians that are running for office that are doing it for the right reasons, who go into it idealistically thinking, wow, I want to fight for America, I want to do the right thing, and then most of them get eaten up, spit out, and chewed up and spit out, and disenfranchised. They're like, I'm done. Like, I never want to do this again. Most people, they run for office once and they see how it is, and they never want to run for office again because their life is literally ruined. So that's generally what happens. But I think that, like I said, everything that I'm discovering really is specific to New York. I think that there are a couple states out there that are lucky and more blessed than we are, but simply probably because we align more with our politics, maybe. So I can't really speak on Texas. Maybe one day my plan is to move there, and I could give you more information, or Florida. But as of right now, all I know is that New York is, I think people would probably say, the #1 state that's in dire trouble right now in the United States. And, the politicians, the local leadership, the leadership of the party is still trying to put in people that have obviously been not doing a good job for decades now, not giving anybody else a chance. Like I said, imagine a few people that actually had a chance to run for office, and they didn't owe it to anybody. Just think how different the state would be. But it's impossible. They use the legal system, just like they accuse the Democrats of, against their political rivals that are populist candidates, that are Trump-supporting candidates, that are America First, or just any candidates, anybody that they don't own. It doesn't even have to be any of those. As long as they don't own them, and as long as you don't owe them anything, they don't want you. Why would they want? They have no use for you. They would rather a Democrat get in, because that Democrat's owned by the same people that's up at the top. So. Could I represent myself, you said? I am,
question.
in my federal case, I am representing myself. But I'm really lucky that I have I feel like you do good deeds and they come back, because I don't know if a lot of you here are familiar, but I work really hard for January 6 people and raising money for their legal funds. And I've raised over $3 million through my writing on Gateway Pundit. So a lawyer that I've worked with extensively to free January 6 people, whose name is John Gross, he's actually a rabbi, is helping me with my case, and he's brilliant. And he's helping me write my arguments, research my stuff. And now he's thinking about coming on to the case and, signing on officially as the attorney for the case and bringing on this other really good attorney. So, I'm looking forward to having them on the team. I was enjoying representing myself pro se. It was exciting. I felt like I was on My Cousin Vinny with John, because he got up, and I don't know if you know John Tobacco, but he started yelling like this at the Letitia James lawyer and at the Rhino lawyer, where the judge is like, excuse me, he goes, talk to me, not them. And they were both backing up like this, even though they were across the way. And I was trying to play the nice person because I didn't want to tick off the judge. And all of our friends that were there, every time we said something that they thought sounded smart, they started clapping and cheering like it was a rally. And the judge finally was like, stop it! And then he lost his cool, and he goes, I'm sorry. They're doing a good job. They don't need you guys to cheer them on. He literally lost it because everybody was cheering in the courtroom. And everything the other side would say, they go, so it was kind of interesting and fun. It was fun, so I would encourage you guys to come. But I know that I should probably wrap it up, because I know there's other great people here, like Greg Hosh, who ran in the 3rd District. And I followed that very carefully. I was thinking of running for the 3rd District as well. But I know that was it's a very controlled territory, put it that way. And there were 4 guys in 3rd District, and I knew in my heart, so there were 5 candidates. One of them was sponsored by the party, endorsed, and then there were 4 other guys, all good in their own way. Let the people decide. Each and every one of them gathered the required signatures. Each and every one of them got thrown off at the board today. So there's going to be no primary in what they call the Santos district, which is now the Swazi district. There's no primary. The party got to pick their, their robot, their puppet. The people don't get to pick. The people in the 3rd district aren't smart enough to pick their own candidate. Maybe I would have voted for Greg Koch. Maybe not. Maybe I would have voted for one of his people. I should have that choice. I should have that choice. End of story. So, yeah. Like I said, you guys, a lot of you know me. Reach out to me if you have any questions. If you want, follow me on Twitter or on Instagram so I can update you on my next court hearing is. And please come check it out and support and let your friends know. And if you know anybody, I'm not even asking people in here for donations, but if you know anybody that would want to donate to my legal fund, share my CARA, C-A-R-A, for Senate.com. We are obviously raising money for legal expenses right now. And I wouldn't be in this if I didn't think I could win this federal case and at least change some of the laws. I'm like, I've been through hell for the past 2 months. What's going to come out of this is that some laws are going to change, and we're going to get more America First, more populist candidates, more regular people like you and I on the ballot in the future.
Thank you, thank you. I was thinking before when you said you didn't want to say too much on the case, you might get a gag order. You're talking like Donald Trump, you might end up getting a gag order. And Vinny, to answer your question, she's a 2-time Golden Glove boxing champ. She's not stopping the fight, right? She's a fighter. She's not stopping this fight. So we'd like to introduce now in Congressional District 1, which is, I don't know, to me that's like all the way out east, Daniel Foti. He's running on the conservative line against Nick LaLota, who's the incumbent. So if you can give Daniel a nice warm welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. He's going to fill you in on what he's experiencing.
Thank you. I'm Daniel Foti, for you who don't know who I am. I have a little bit of a different story than Kara. Basically, I went into this like the forefathers wanted. Go in, help out. Before, I knew everything was corrupt and dirty, but I didn't know it was this dirty. I've had my windows broken, my tires slashed, they follow me, but I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop because they want Nick LaLota to go in. Nick LaLota doesn't back Donald Trump, okay? My thing is, we all know Donald Trump is the president. We all know that, the real people know that, but for the people that don't know that, my goal going into this was to get Donald Trump back in office so he can do everything he was supposed to do now. That they got this resident that sits there and eats ice cream and can't even speak, mumbles. It's embarrassing. So I figured, you know what, my goal, Donald Trump, and that's what I want to campaign on is Donald Trump because he's done right by everybody. Everything Nick LaLota says, I don't know what he's done. He put out an ad about lower taxes. I don't know anybody in here that taxes are lowered. I don't know what he's done for the schools. I don't know what he's done. We have all these illegals coming in. If it was me, I would be at Adam's office banging on the door saying what's going on every day, especially Hochul. I'd be banging on her door saying, what are you doing? You keep spending our tax dollars that everybody's working. I'm like everybody else in the room. I work 2 jobs. But then I said, you know what? I'm tired of working 2 jobs, giving my money to illegals, and then they're giving us the finger, all over the internet, and they're getting free food and they're free stay, and there's veterans that need the help, and supposedly he's a veteran. What is he doing for them? Absolutely nothing. So I came into this and I said, you know what? I'm tired of excuse my French, the bullshit, and we, the people, need to get our country back and work together. It's just been chaotic. I went into it thinking, you know what? I'm going to help. But like Kara said, they try and take you down because you want to help people, because you want to do the right thing. And the Democrats and the Republicans, they're all bought, like you seen, what was it, last week, couple weeks ago. And look how much money, $195 billion to Ukraine, $26 billion to Ukraine. What about the United States of America? Let's clean that up. $165 billion went to Ukraine. You could have cleaned up the homelessness. You could have gave veterans. You could have cleaned up the homelessness about 8 times over with $165 billion. But these Congress people are supposed to say, you know what? No, I'm not voting for this. Or at least show it. Like, you got Marjorie, you got Matt Gaetz. Those are the people that you see they care for the country. But there's a slight few of them. So, like Nick LaLota, no good. And something's got to change. So with the I got all my signatures. I don't have to get as many as Kara had to get, but they'll try and get me off the ballot so he can get in, because obviously he's on the Board of Elections. So that's how he won the last time, because I think he ran, I want to say prior to him 22, I think he ran in 20, and he was still on the Board of Elections, and then they said, listen, you got to get off the Board of Elections. And then in 22, he won. Just all of a sudden, he won. It's crazy that everybody has to go through this because the people want to help. And hopefully, my stance is, I'm a patriot. Like I said, I'm a Trump supporter, and I want to do right for the country. But these people, want to take this country down. Obviously, what everybody's been seeing for the last, I would say, even when we had Trump for the last 2 years, we've been going through this for, I would say, about 6 years, because the last 2 years, they just, tried to impeach him and do all this crazy stuff. But my thing, hopefully I could help. And I'm not going to stop fighting, because we want to get this country back. And November 5th, Donald Trump is winning no matter what. So if they want a civil war will happen.
Wait, hello. I have a question for you. So you are going to go into District 1, which is my district.
Yes.
You had gotten the signatures, I guess, about 1,500 signatures.
I got about 5,000.
5,000 signatures. You went door to door and got 5,000
Yes.
signatures.
Yeah.
What town do you live in?
I live in East Setauket.
You had me, and I like Donald Trump. He had my vote as soon as he said that.
Listen, I don't like Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump. He's done everything
Wow.
right.
You're my guy.
And I'm
I'm
not
District
afraid.
1. I like him.
Most people are afraid to say it. And Nick LaLota, have you ever seen him say he liked Donald Trump?
Never.
Thank you. And that's,
He voted for the money to the Ukraine because he tried to tell me that Donald Trump, and he sent me a letter or one of Donald Trump's tweets about that we have to save Ukraine. The Ukraine has to stand. Even though Donald Trump said that, he didn't say send 105 billion,
No.
you moron. That's what I
No.
told him.
he said give him basically,
might have blocked me.
basically give him a loan. Give them a loan and let them pay it back. No, but these people just give. Because
Not
they're
good.
getting a cut of it.
Seems like common sense. Any questions for District 1 guy? Hold on.
Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned that you got 5,000 signatures.
Yes.
And is it the Suffolk County Board,
Yes.
the Suffolk Board of Elections?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a committee that evaluates that? And what guidelines or rules or laws do they
Well,
need to
like-
follow?
The same, like they, it has to be exactly the person's signature, which the person, like sometimes it was at nighttime, so they could scribble their name, Going door to door to people's houses, I went and I did a lot of it, just because I want to introduce myself, because I'm nobody knows who I am. And they, it's nighttime and you just, they sign, but they wanted to match the license. They wanted to be, just so they can get over on you.
So is it a committee of people? Is it?
Yeah, it's like a committee of people.
And are those guidelines that they're following, are they codified anywhere?
No, not really. No.
Because I mean, in some cases you can scratch off or you can discount.
Right.
a signature. In other cases, it sounds like you can discount the whole entire page.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that those guidelines are somewhere in a procedure manual, or
Well, it's like you can go on their website and you can look it up, or you could go on the New York State and it's all on New York State and it tells you. But they don't. If you're a Republican or a conservative, excuse my language, you're a piece of shit. But if you're a Democrat, oh, we have the Constitution all of a sudden comes alive. Everything just comes back. But when you're a conservative or Republican and you care about the country, it doesn't. You know what? Doesn't apply.
also I know in the county Suffolk County Board of Elections, whenever there's a decision to be made, there's a Democrat representative and a Republican representative.
Right.
So you have a Democrat and a Republican evaluating your petitions, and you're a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no representative that's from the Conservative
No,
Party there.
no.
That was part of that process.
No, but most of the time the Republican is bought, so it's really a Democrat. It's your Mitch McConnell's, your Liz Cheney's. That's
Well,
what
to
these.
tell you, it's kind of like a conflict of interest, though, because
Right. Right.
neither one of them wants a
Of
conservative
course.
challenger.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's. You try to do the right thing. They don't want. They want you to be evil like them, and I'm not evil, and that's why I'm doing it. Yes. As of today, but that can change. Mine's June 25th is my primary, so anything can change by then. Any other questions? You would assume, yeah. So we'll see. Right now, I'm on it. Tomorrow, they could say, maybe if they see this, take a hike. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'll leave all my information here. It's Daniel Foti 24. Daniel Foti, FOTI _ 2024. I'll leave that for everybody. Thank you. Anything else? No? Well, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for stepping up in CD1. We need good people. I'm starting to get like PTSD from the campaign we had 2 years ago. I was going to say, no, she was still here. All right, so now we're going to move to CD2 real quick. Shannon Stevens is running against Andrew Garbarino. She's not here today, and I'm going to explain why. She was in court today at 2:15. She had to go up to Albany because she was suing her objectors and the Board of Elections because they came after her real hard. So she gave me. We have a statement from a couple of people. I'm gonna read her statement, and then we're gonna move to District 3. But this is a statement from Shannon Stevens. She was sorry she couldn't be here, but she was up there fighting hard. This was Long Island, New York, regarding the press conference on the election interference and lawfare, which is exactly what this is. And yeah, it's lawfare and election interference, used by the GOP and BOE against candidates who are not on the GOP establishment pick. The Stevens campaign released the following statement. Shannon Stevens regrets not being able to attend tonight's press conference regarding the unjust, unfair practices used by the GOP and the Board of Elections to keep non-GOP picked candidates off the ballot. Shannon is currently in court in Albany. She has filed a lawsuit in response to the Board of Election practices, and it's being heard today. Shannon will be in Suffolk County Court on Friday, fighting the lawsuit filed against her by Andrew Garbarino, accusing fraud on her petition. And just to clarify, he's just saying she's fraudulent on everything. They didn't go line by line and look at signatures. He's suing her for just complete fraudulent signatures. And it's including sections of the election law that do not even apply to her petition. This is an obvious attempt to remove a legal, viable candidate from the ballot and keep her tied up in court instead of campaigning. Shannon will continue to fight this election interference and lawfare, and we look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. Please remember to vote in June on the 25th. That's the June primary. We need our voices to be heard. So I know Shannon's campaign manager, Diane Lewis, is watching, so we just want to wish Shannon good luck and to keep up the fight. She's a lawyer, so she's trying to learn the election law for this. So hopefully she'll make some headway too, like Kara. So next up, we're going to go to CD3. That's the George Santos district, my district. And tonight we have one of the candidates running, and then I have another statement. But if we can give Greg Hatch a warm welcome. He is running for Congress in CD3, and he's going to take the stage. Thank you very much for that.
How's everybody doing tonight? First of all, I have to apologize. I'm going to have to read a bit. I was putting these remarks together on the way here, actually, so I apologize. But there's a lot of things I wanted to say, and I just wanted to make sure to get them out. First of all, thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's great to see a group of real Republicans, actual conservatives, standing up for this country in Nassau County, because what's happening with the party is unacceptable. I got thrown off the ballot today for having the temerity to defend and advance President Trump's America First agenda. As bitterly disappointed as I am, I wear this as a badge of honor. I will not modify who I am and what I believe in for anyone. If the Nassau GOP can't handle a truth teller, they better get prepared, because I will not stop speaking the truth. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Thank you. Too many good people are afraid to speak out for American freedom and values for fear of being canceled. I will be their voice. Just look at what's going on in New York. Rich, spoiled Ivy League brats are shutting down universities to support an Islamic terrorist group that would hang them by their ears if they could. These students hate America, and they learned that from their radical professors who couldn't get a job in the real world. These anti-American 1960s radicals have taken over higher education in the country, and the only thing standing between them and generational disaster is you and I and Donald Trump. We see what's going on. We see it for what it is, and we've had just about enough of it. Same with migrants. You've got to be kidding me. Almost 200,000 illegal immigrants have poured into our area from all corners of the globe in the past year alone. Besides the $2.4 billion it costs us in the new state budget, letting these people in is madness. It's dangerous, and we know it. There's no way foreign terrorists haven't entered our country as sleeper agents. Not a chance. Didn't any of the liberals read the 9/11 Commission report? I mean, come on. Meanwhile, more illegal immigrants by the hundreds of thousands are lining up at the border just to join the others. God help us. And what do we get here on Long Island? We get a Republican Party apparatus that would rather run a Democrat than run an America First conservative. It's madness. Now the party's clearing the field for the liberal lobbyist with no money, who was a top lieutenant to New York City Mayor de Blasio, if you can believe that one. Mike LaPetri cannot defeat Tom Suozzi. He knows it, I know it, Joe Cairo knows it, and Tom Suozzi knows it. So what the hell are we doing? Isn't the idea to fight and win? And because that was my plan until I got thrown off the ballot. Thank you. But I'm not going anywhere. My experience this year convinced me, as a father, as an attorney, as an Air Force veteran, that a larger fight is coming in this country, and I plan to be smack dab in the center of it. And that being said, indeed my race for 2026 effectively begins today. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. Ronald Reagan told American conservatives at a generation ago, and I'll repeat his words today. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny, and the path to get there is being forged tonight. Thank you for having me. Keep the faith, and God bless America.
I just want to say thank you for your service for the Air Force. Thank you. And General Flynn will be here in a couple of weeks if you want to come to our event. That'd be awesome. Oh, my papers are with him. Hold on one second. I think I have my papers under there. That's okay. No, and I also love that he brought his beautiful daughter, because watching what you're doing is very important right now. So hopefully our kids can take the baton from us. All right, so getting back to CD3, another development that happened today with the courts, I guess, throwing everybody off the ballot. Unfortunately, a couple of months ago, the Long Island MAGA Patriots, the Belmar Patriots, and myself got to meet with Jim Toes. And I think just with him getting thrown off the ballot today, I just recently heard that he dropped out of the race, which is exactly what they wanted. So unfortunately, they're not joining us tonight. And Bill Cotter, who is running, we never heard back from, so unfortunately we don't have him. But Mike Mandel is in CD3. He wrote something up. It's very long, so I'm going to try to shorten it as I'm up here. But he's also running in the same district as Greg Hatch, Mike LaPetri, and Cotter. So he wrote, "This is Michael Mandel, and I just ran for congressman in the 3rd Congressional District in Nassau County. The other candidates will tell you how we all have been eliminated, but I will add to that a list of things that he learned and will benefit the Republican voters, which is crucial to voting as a Republican in the U.S. for congressmen and for U.S. senators. Everyone must go to this website to verify and check their voter registration address and party. I bet most people would be surprised. voterlookup.elections.newyork.gov. If you need to change any information, you can go to the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles and get that done." He goes on to say a lot about this, and a lot of you know this, the people in this room, probably speaking to the echo chamber, but basically, a lot of us, the voter rolls are very compromised. Many of us learned that over the last few years with Audit New York and the other grassroots groups. So it's very important. A lot of people I know, when in 2022, I would have it on my phone and put people's information. I was shocked to learn people in my own family weren't registered. They thought they were. Many thought they were registered as a Republican, but they were showing up as a Democrat and vice versa. So if you guys, especially leading up to November, can just be the the voice and tell everybody you know. Ask your neighbor when you're talking to them. Ask your coworkers. If you know someone's birthday, last name, and name, you could look it up for them. I was looking up my entire family in 2022. So he basically goes on to say that it's a lot here, but basically just check, do your part and vote, try to get the word out. And he was sorry he couldn't join us today. He was on the campaign trail. So Michael Mandel, we look forward to meeting you. He's in CD3. Next up,
Is he kicked off the ballot too?
Yeah, they all were. Today we found out late today they all were.
So he's campaigning even though he's not in?
He had an event, so prior to today, I guess. You guys got I don't know what time they got it, but they all got kicked off today. It was a new development today, so this is what they
My boy
wanted.
in District 1's not kicked off.
No, he's not yet. But that's
He's
because
on the conservative ticket.
Yeah, I guarantee you, if he was registered if he was running as a Republican, Nick would have had him off already. That's how they do it. They did it to us in 2022. I still have PTSD. It's a rough go. I feel for you. I know what you guys are going through. I didn't run, but I was on the campaign. So we have a very good friend here today coming out from the city. And many of you may know her if you were at our rallies or heard her story. She's on TV a lot. And Madeline, if you're willing to come up for us, Madeline Brame. She ran for Congress in CD16. She's a warrior. She ran for CD16 in 2023, but she's got a very special story, and her story is what inspires me so much because that's what drove her to run. So there's nothing like a mama bear trying to get justice and run, right, for justice, and I appreciate what you did. So we're going to give you the mic. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. I was just looking through my old text messages from Ed Cox. When I first decided to run for New York 16, that is Jamal Bauman's district. Everybody knows him, the fire alarm guy? Okay, the reason why I chose to run in that district, I really can't tell you why, but some people who were around me told me that I would be a good candidate and that would be a good matchup for me. I never had any interest in politics. I didn't start out aspiring to be a politician. I'm here because of the murder of my son, who was killed in 2018. Hassan was an Afghanistan war retired veteran he came home and he was killed in Harlem in 2018 by 4 people he didn't know, nor had he done them any harm. Hassan was stabbed to death. The case was handled in Manhattan. It started out with Cyrus Vance as the district attorney, and we had some good, solid prosecutors who they prepared this, strong murder and gang assault case against all 4 of these people. And as soon as Alvin Bragg took office in 2020, the case completely fell apart, and Alvin Bragg dismissed murder and gang assault indictments against 2 other people involved in the murder of my son. 2 of them did receive 20 years to life because Alvin Bragg said that that was the most that he was going to be sentencing anybody to in New York State, no matter what they did, murder or whatever. And the 2 brothers received 20 years, but the sister and their friend received 1 year time served and 7 years. Anyway, long story short, all of that stuff compelled me to fight, to protest, to rally all around New York City, especially in Manhattan. I could be seen many times outside of the same court that President Trump is in, with just a bullhorn and a sign by myself, and just out in front of that building, just screaming my head off about the need to repeal bail reform, because that law was the beginning of the end for any type of law and order that existed in New York City or the state of New York, period. They could spend $250 million and better going after Trump, but they didn't have the resources to try all 4 of these people who were involved in the murder of my son. That was the excuse that they gave me. They didn't have the resources to take all 4 of these people to trial, only 2. So that's why they had to let the other 2 go. Not that they weren't guilty of murder, but because Bragg said they didn't have the resources. So they put me in this race against Jamal Bauman. I did all the WinRed stuff and all the, got fancy sneakers with my name on it and all that. The people who managed my case, I mean, not my case, but my campaign, there are only 2 that I know of, all right? He told me that he was doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, him and whoever else was working with him behind the scenes, all right? So we managed to raise, a substantial amount to me, because I'm poor, all right? I'm a poor black woman, all right? I work every day. I don't have any money. I wasn't in it for no money, never looked for no money. $11,000 to me in 1 month is a lot of money, all right? Just to get off of my social media, people donating $5 and $10 and $20. That's a lot of money to me, all right? I had the meeting with Ed Cox. Ed Cox was a very endearing man, all right? I met with him for about an hour. From what I understand, he's a real sourpuss, all right? And that very hard to talk to. But at the end of the conversation with this man, we were laughing. It was like he was my best friend, He promised me this and he promised me that, the world. Then I had the meeting with Colty, I believe his name is, or the other one in Westchester, the other big guy. Someone else mentioned his name in here earlier. Kassar. Went to his office, met with him for about an hour and a half. Another one who's a real sourpuss, a real bump on the log, just sitting there, okay? Really didn't have anything to offer or to say, but he listened. He heard me out. I guess I must have been entertaining him, or he just could not believe that who is this woman, talking like this? And one thing that I got, the takeaway that I got from that meeting, and that I knew that this man knew and understood for real, was that he was not going to be able to package me and rebrand me into whatever it was he wanted me to be. And I also told my campaign manager that as well, you know, and he said, oh, no, you just have to do what they tell you to do. You have to this, have to that. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm not going to. My whole thing was to go into places like Yonkers, Getty Square. Okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with these neighborhoods. Okay, New Rochelle, New Rock City. Okay, Edenwald houses. My whole thing was to go into the black community, the poor black community, and go in there and flip those votes and come out with the vote. And that was it. I have been doing it since I started with Blexit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Blexit, with the Candace Owens organization, with Turning Point USA. All right, I have been doing it for 5 years. Okay, going into Harlem, marching in the parade, you know, all that stuff, doing not campaign, but events. Talking to people who would have never even dreamt of thinking or being open-minded to any of this, right? But the more we went in, the more we talked to them, the more we realized that we had more in common than we did, you know, than not. Anyway, I knew that I would be able to go into those communities and come out with that vote, you know, and I still could. And any person, Kara could. Kara could go in there. She can go in the South Bronx and come out with those votes. All right, but I don't really feel that this is what the Republican Party wants. You know, they don't want to win. You know, and my campaign manager kind of told me that from the beginning. You know, I'm not this polished, you know, politician. I'm not anything other, you know, nothing that people are probably not used to even seeing before. All right? I may bore some people. I may offend some people. You know, people may not like what I have to say. However, you will never be able to unhear it. You hear it and you'll never be able to unhear it. There is a whole untouched demographic of voter base that is ripe, that is ready to vote for anybody who's going to come in there and tell these people what it is they want to hear. But also to come in with something tangible, something that they can see. Because they've been used to people promising them the sun, moon, and stars for decades and not receiving nothing in return for their vote. Lee Zeldin came the closest to it. In that last run, he came the closest to it. Anytime there was a shooting in Harlem, the South Bronx, Lee Zeldin showed up outside, right where the shooting was, right where the police tape was. He has something now called Zeldin Cares. He spoke about that on the campaign trail. That began to resonate in Harlem and the South Bronx. It's a nonprofit organization that brings in all types of different programs for underserved communities. This is the kind of thing that will resonate in the minority community. When I say minority, I mean white, black, Hispanic, Jewish, Asian, anywhere where there's poor people is a minority. If you want that vote, you got to go in there and get it. All right? You cannot be too white. You cannot be too polished. You cannot be too afraid to go in there and speak to these people. Because they're sitting there waiting for someone to come in. Not to save them, but to give them something, some hope, to motivate them to get up and do something. They haven't voted in decades. Decades, 40, 50 years. Senior citizens don't even bother to go out to vote anymore. The local elections, forget about it. Kara would have been the perfect candidate. The perfect candidate. Tina Forte as well. A lot of people are saying they don't like Tina, all right? But I think Tina is a mini, what's her name? This chick here, this one. She's a mini her. Taylor Greene, yes. Yes. You know, none of them are Vicky Palladino. Vicky's a pit bull. Vicky is that bitch. Excuse my language. She's a boss. She's the only one in the New York City Council, the only Republican that sits up there and bites those people's heads off every time something happens. And it's not right. She sits and she stands alone. I'm always on Twitter asking, where are the Republicans? You know, Ed Cox, what are you doing? You know, you're heading this thing. Where are the candidates that are going there and going to do what they need to do and shut it down? You know, it's a one-party show. Democrats are running the whole thing. Progressives are running the whole thing. Right into the ground is what they're doing. It's like a runaway train, especially bail reform. Excuse me. Especially bail reform. Crime has taken over. You have illegals. I work in Manhattan, in Midtown. It's like a damn cesspool. It's filthy dirty. Filthy dirty. Thank you. You have mothers on the corners with their infant babies begging for change. I saw that in Mexico City when I went to Mexico City. The mothers out there begging for money with their children. If that was an American, ACS would have came and snatched that baby, would have came and taken that baby. You know, the kids on the train, the prostitution, people riding by. White women are a target. They're a target simply because they make themselves a target. They're walking with their head down in their phone, with their headphones on. They're easy target for somebody, one of them illegals will come and just punch them right in the face like they've been doing. I spoke about this at another rally I was at another event that I was at, because they wanted to know what can we do to keep ourselves safe. I started off, the first thing you do is get from point A to point B without looking in your damn phone, all right? Be alert, be vigilant. Carry something in your hand, your keys, a sharpened pencil, pepper spray, something, anything. You may not be able to prevent it, but you can definitely defend yourself. If not, you're just a sitting duck. Now they're raping, okay? Now they're going into Soho, going right into buildings right after the people, you know, and raping people. We let a whole new criminal element loose on the city of New York, on top of the criminal element that we already have. This is a whole new breed of criminal. They do vicious stuff in their country. And they brought that same behavior right over here. I don't know why they thought that it was a good idea. I really don't know why. You know? They can't depend on the vote, because that's going to take 10 years. You know, so what do we do in the meantime in 10 years? That's the question. Maybe, hopefully, when Trump gets into office, excuse me, he's going to do what he said and deport them all. Deport them all. Abortion. 50 million and counting black babies slaughtered in the womb through abortion. A population of an entire country, 50 million since its inception. And we want to continue to push this abortion. I don't see Kamala Harris having no abortion. Letitia James, I don't even think that she likes men. So, yeah. So for her to have, you know, an abortion, that's why, you know, it's so easy for them to continue to push this abortion on people. Trump never said he was going to ban abortion. He said that he was going to send the issue back to the states and let the states determine what they were going to do with abortion. If I were to ever to get in there, or my suggestion would be to ban it altogether, especially on taxpayer dime. You want to get an abortion, pay for it yourself. Also, the father should have a say-so in that. All right? He should have to sign a paper, a waiver, saying that he doesn't mind the abortion, because that woman didn't get pregnant by herself. All this LGBTQ crap that they're teaching in the schools, indoctrinating our children, this drag queen story hour crap, okay? Any parent who exposes their child to that, okay, needs their head examined, right? Nobody's thinking about what type of damage that does to the child, especially the girls, when they're trying to put men in girls' sports and put men in the girls' locker room. That's abuse. That's sex abuse. Sexual exploitation. I just did a whole thing on that with Project 21. With Project 21, they asked me about how I feel about Joe Biden's Title IX. He's getting ready to make a law that men can participate in women's sports. This gender identity stuff. How they feel about that. It is ridiculous. It's not the girls' fault that these boys who think that they can't live up to or don't, can't perform up to a standard, and they have to be on a girls' team, because that's the thing, It's like they're not performing as high as they should. So let's lower the bar for them and let them participate in girl sports. So that way everybody can be on an even playing field and nobody can say that they're discriminated against. Girls work really hard. It's not fair to the girls. So I went off on a tangent. Really, I wanted to read a text message, the last text message I got from Ed Cox, if that's okay. All right? Because this was really about how bad the Republicans have treated other Republican candidates, right? Yeah, so I just wanted to read this. In case, I don't know. I really don't have an opinion, because I dropped out of it after I found out that my campaign was stealing my money. All right? Yeah. I went to get $500 to do Christmas hams for the Edenwald Projects, the people in Edenwald Projects. I was just going to go to like Sam's Club or whatever and buy $500 worth of hams and put them in the back of my car, pull up in the projects, open up the back, and just hand out Christmas hams to the poor people in Edenwald, right? So I went to get the money from my campaign, and come to find out there was no money. I'm like, what the hell happened to the money? We had this fee and that fee. I'm like, fees for what? Who am I paying here? Come to find out, the treasurer was paying himself $1,500 a week. The treasurer, and they were taking money for all kinds of stuff. So that little $11,000, they spent it as soon as they got it. All right, and they told me that I couldn't buy toilet paper or dog food, because it would be a campaign finance violation if I bought toilet paper or dog food. And I was eating out of a food pantry, and my campaign was collecting this money, and they were stealing this money. So that's why I dropped out. Hold on a second. I just want to find this, and then I'm going to get out your way, because I know it's late. Okay. Let's see. Madeline, congratulations on your appearance on Laura's show with my good friend Lee Zeldin. Received your material and just called and left a message for you to call me to discuss your race in the 16th. Looking forward to talking. Ed. This is from Ed Cox. So, from what they're telling me, for me to receive a message like this from him, have a whole conversation with him, that there's something about me that he did like, that he was interested in. However, the conversation went no further after all the promises that he made in this series of text messages. You know, I don't know what it's about. I don't know why, but I could not get any more rhythm from that whole entire apparatus after this initial meeting. So, you know, I prefer to stay out of the political fray because it taints the work that I want to do, all right? I want to go into the communities and really help in any capacity that I can, all right? And it's not about politics. It's not about money. I volunteer and do everything that I do. I come out of my own pocket and do this kind of stuff, you know? They should remove all this money that's involved in politics. Money is the root. Money is the root to all of this evil that's happening here, to all this corruption. They're going after Trump because Trump is rich. And that's the only thing they can do is take his money. That's it. Even though the 4 years he was president, he didn't take a dime. They never even paid him not one dime. Okay? So $1 he took. He had to take $1. And that is pissing them off because he cannot be bought and paid for. And any candidate who could be bought and paid for is useless. Is useless.
Thank you so much. Keep up the fight. We'll support you from Long Island. We're with you. So we're going to wrap up, but I did want to bring one more person up. He's a very good friend of the warehouse, very good friend of mine. He ran in 2022, Assembly District 4 out here in Long Island. Let's give it up for Tom Weirman. He experienced this stuff in 2022, so he's just going to share what happened to him, which was basically what's happening now. So, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Teresa, and thanks to the warehouse for bringing attention to this. It's one of the most important issues that we could even focus on ever, because if we don't have free and fair elections, we don't have anything. And a lot of times we would always think about free and fair elections be Democrats versus Republicans. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people who share the R next to their name, fighting grassroots candidates who also share the R right next to their name. You know, 10 years ago, 2014, and prior to that, I used to be very excited when I would go into the voting booth and pull that lever or fill in that circle for anybody who had the R next to their name. Then 2015 came, and Donald Trump came. And we saw the whole election system on the Republican side in the primary process looking completely different. We saw Republicans going after. I remember specifically watching Marco Rubio snickering, saying he's not going to be the candidate, as if he knew something that we didn't know. And all of a sudden, a year later, guess who becomes president? President Donald Trump. But what happened at that time is that it woke a whole lot of people up to say, hey, something is wrong here. Now, we all kind of knew it, to a certain extent. You know, the people who were really involved in politics, they knew exactly what was going on. But the average Republican voter didn't really know what was going on. But we saw this concerted effort to stop what the people wanted. They wanted Trump, but the political establishment did not. And they were doing whatever they could. And remember, these are Republicans going after a Republican candidate, and they were doing everything they could to stop him. So many of us saw that as maybe it's just a distant issue. It's a national issue. It's not. We don't have that happening in our own, in our own candidates or with our own candidates in our local races. That can't be. Well, in 2021, I was fired for not taking the vaccine. I was a New York City teacher. I was really upset. And I felt that the Lord was leading me to fight back in New York State. I wanted to fight Governor Hochul. So, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I was thinking, well, who do I go to? I didn't know that this place existed. I didn't know there was so many patriot-minded people here on Long Island. So what did I do? I went to a Republican GOP party gathering. And I said, you know what? I want to run for office. And many people were like, great, that's great. You know, come alongside of us, you know. And I'm thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. You know, great. So I said, I want to run for New York State Assembly. They said, you can't do that. I said, well, why not? Why can't I do that? Well, we already got our guy. And I just was like, that doesn't make sense to me. I thought the people get to choose who gets to run for office and who gets elected. What do you mean this whole we got our guy type of thing? Well, make a long story short, I told them, I said, I'm going to run anyway because I don't believe it's you who gets to choose. I believe it is the people who get to choose. That's what we believe. That is actual democracy, when people go and vote for the person they want, not when party leaders decide that they're going to choose who you get to vote for. That's not the way it works, and I wasn't going to have it, so I ran for office. Now, I'm not going to tell you the whole gory details as to what happened. Yes, I was sued also, along with many other people who were running for in the primary at the time. They wanted to get me off. They named my wife. They named my daughter in the lawsuit. And I got to be honest with you, I was scared. I was like, my daughter is 18 years old. She's an incredible kid. All she did was get signatures for me, and they're bringing her up in a lawsuit. I didn't know what was going on. I was completely a novice to this. I couldn't even get an election lawyer because I was getting blackballed by any type of person connected to the Republican Party. In fact, I had to go to New York City and find the guy who ran for New York City mayor under the Democrat Party to become my election lawyer. It wasn't easy. Anyway, I won the case within 5 minutes. But like Kara said, it cost me thousands of dollars. Cost me a month of campaigning. Honestly, it scared me too. I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, I've never been sued before. It was the strangest thing. I wound up losing by 116 votes. Now, a lot of the things that Kara said and some other people said, the election laws are designed to protect the establishment. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and talk bad about anybody involved or everybody involved in the Republican Party or the GOP establishment. There are some very good people who are really just trying to do the right thing, but there are several people who are not trying to do the right thing. They're trying to control things and make things go the way they want, not the way you want. Now, there's some great things about the establishment, I'll tell you. They're very established. And what that means is that they have decades and decades and decades of organization. And they know how to run a political operation. They know how to run a political candidate. They know how to get boots on the ground and get out in the highways and the byways and get people knocking on doors and getting signatures. And they've got their lawyers and they've got this and they got that. They're extremely organized because they're very established. And if we want to see a change, if we want to see candidates who are going to go to Washington or go to Albany and are going to fight for us, if we want that, we have to get organized. We have to get established. And we have to take back the Republican Party because they do not own the party. We are the party. The GOP is not the party. They are part of the party. And you know what? They need to start coming to us and start asking us, hey, you really love this country? You really love this state? We would like to get behind you. It shouldn't be us getting behind them. We got to lead from the front. That's what we need to do. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
That was a great bunch of stuff to say. So we're going to wrap up. I agree with everything Tom said. You guys got to remember the Constitution was made to restrict the government, not us. So I encourage all of you to go out. We're going to package this video up, so we recorded the whole thing. So once we get it out, we're going to ask you to share it everywhere. The press releases did go out. We did contact the media, but you know we're on the other side of the media, so they're not here, and they're afraid to come, and they don't want to expose the truth of what's really going on because we're all in bed together. So thank you for live streaming it. We're going to blast this everywhere, probably starting tomorrow. And we want to thank all the candidates that came and shared their story. We wish you a lot of luck. We're behind you. We're going to be having rally soon, so you can come speak at on the stage and give us an update. I want to thank the America First Warehouse. I wear a lot of hats. I don't think, but can we bring the candidates that are still here up on stage? Can we take a picture with the candidates that are up here? And once they come up, guys, I want to give them another huge round of applause. They stepped up to do something to help save and protect us and our rights, and I don't take that lightly. I have a lot of respect for you guys. And let's give them one more loud round of applause and say thank you to them. And if you guys want to grab any pictures, feel free. Yeah, jump on in.
Make sure my mom gets a copy of that. She was clapping before. She had to go.
Just make sure all the skinny. Put the skinny filter on. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Joe, for hosting.